Here's a pre-bedtime breath and stretch routine that may help you shift your experience of shoulder discomfort or pain that accrues while you're lying down or sleeping. For each of these breath positions, you can explore each of these for 5 to 10 breaths, nice, long, steady, slow breaths, or you can find the ones that feel the best to you and seem to make the most impact to you, and then spend a little extra time there. The first will be done in child's pose. You're going to use a rolled up sweater or a towel or a throw blanket or a pillow like so, and place this across the lap, tucking it up next to the belt line. The idea is that we want this pillow or this blanket to trap and pin down not just the belly, but a bit of the bottom low ribs as well. And from here we can slide on down into child's pose, either letting the head hang, holding it in the middle if it feels more comfortable, or even placing a yoga block or something underneath the forehead so we can let the neck chill out, focus on the breath. The idea here is to take nice, long, steady breaths in, breathing into the entire spine in a way that might stretch it out and lengthen it like a slinky, as if someone is grabbing the sides of your ear and pulling the head gently off of your shoulders. I'm also focused on pulling breath between the shoulder blades and into the side ribs in a way that expands the side ribs towards the sides of the room. Steady, full inhales. Nice long exhales through the lips or ideally through the nose. 5 to 10 here. The goal is to allow ourselves to sink and to create an ever-expanding sensation of stretch between the shoulder blades and in the side ribs. Staying low on the inhales, not letting the head bob up and down, which is a sign that we're breathing into and swelling the belly, as opposed to sending that air swelling into as a swelling inhale underneath the shoulder blades and into the side ribs. So this is position 1. Position 2 can maintain the pillow. My preference is to have your toes curled under it in the back. If that's uncomfortable for the feet, feel free to come down to the laces. But assuming you can curl the toes, we curl here. Elbows are a few inches in front of the knees. We are pushing through the elbows in a way that creates stretch between the shoulder blades. You can also push the elbows away from you gently in a way that would rock the hips back towards the heels, gently and slightly. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to create a little bit of tension and push. Same deal here, taking 5 to 10 big inhales and exhales. At first, I want you to pay attention to generating the sensation of stretch between the shoulder blades and into the side ribs. As you get better at that, we want to try to hold whatever swelled ground we gain or curved and stretched ground we gain in the back, even if I'm able to puff out and lift my back stuff or inflate my back stuff like a balloon, a 1/4 millimeter, a 1/2 millimeter, another millimeter. I want to hold that ground on the exhale, so I'm not going to lift on the inhale and then collapse on the exhale. Lifting on the inhale, I want you to exhale in a way that helps pull the front ribs and the belly away from the pillow, and try to spare the pillow from being compressed on your next inhale by maintaining a light grip in the belly. The better we do this, the more swelling sensation of stretch we'll get into the back and the side ribs. And this sparing the pillow from being pressed into by the belly and the ribs isn't necessarily a curling of the spine. Even as we attempt to expand into the back and the side ribs with that inhale, we are still reaching for length in both ends of the spine. Elbows keep the hips driven back towards the heels gently, while we imagine somebody cupping our ears and gently pulling our head off of our shoulders to create length in the neck. So we have a little bit of length in both ends of the spine that we maintain even as we create and breathe into this turtle shell back. 5 to 10 breaths here. The third setup is to bring a bit of rotation into the spine with our breath For this, we're going to sit flat on our butt, reaching for length in the spine. Throughout the duration of this exercise, there's a secret teacup balanced on the top of the head. I don't want you to spill that forward or spill that backward. We want to serve that directly to the ceiling. If we do this right, we might feel a little bit of work and lift through the front belly muscles and these hip flexor muscles. If this position is too challenging for you and you find that you can't sit tall at all and you feel like the weight or the stretch is dumped directly into the low back, what I want you to do is grab some yoga blocks or pillows, stack that under your butt cheeks, under your sits bones or your butt bones, and lift yourself up and reduce the demands of the position. Either way, again, sitting on our butt bones, creating a little lift and length through the spine. We're going to do 5 breaths in each orientation or rotation. I want you to pretend like you're drawing a bow. One hand punches forward, the other hand pulls back without crunching, without spilling the tea, without losing the length of serving the tea to the ceiling. And what you'll notice here is that as I draw the bow, if I had a logo on my shirt or a laser pointer starting out of my sternum, that laser pointer would turn toward the drawing hand. Here we're going to get big breath into the whole rib cage, trying to stretch it 360 degrees in all directions. So big inhale and a big exhale. You can return to center. Draw with the other hand. Spending one breath or two there, doesn't matter. Back to center. This should be a little bit effortful. We're using our exhales to find some belly muscles, just like the other positions, holding on to those belly muscles a bit during the inhale. Sending that swelling inhale up underneath the collarbones, into the side ribs, into the back space between the shoulder blades. You may not be able to pair this perfectly with inhales and exhales. Just know that we're rotating. We want rotation. That turning through the shoulders, turning through the sternum. And we want to stay over the butt bones, that as we rotate, we don't find ourselves leaning too off to the side in ways that lift or tilt us from the pelvis. Nice and square over the hips. Rotating, and then using that rotated position to breathe and open up from the inside out with breath anything that we feel wound tight or taut in that position. That's the third setup for the breath. Going back to this idea that if lying down with the covers pointing the toes tends to be pulling some of this tissue taut, lifting the pelvis, tipping the ribs, and then there's a concurrent dumping of the shoulders. If we can open up and loosen up some of this tissue through here, it may help relax that whole up chain mechanism, allowing the pelvis to sit back a bit more comfortably, the ribs to rest a bit more comfortably, and the shoulders to then concurrently drift back towards the mat a bit more comfortably, opening up some of this space, giving more breathing room here by opening up something further down chain. So, using a couch, we can get set up with 1 foot up, 1 foot forward. You can enter from the ground like I did. You can also enter by putting 1 foot up, dropping that knee down. Feel free to use very expensive specialist equipment such as this broom for extra balance to help with the task, or the back of a chair. Any of these go. In general, the closer you get that thigh or that knee to the couch, the more of a demanding stretch this is going to be. The further away, the more less vertical the shin is, the more open the stretch is going to be. We want to find something that's going to put you in the 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 stretch intensity zone. Doesn't need to be much more than that. Something that you can hold for 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes at least. From here, there's a tucking of the tailbone, like I'm attempting to take my fart and point it at the ground, or even tuck it underneath me and point it at the wall there. I'm not going to get it pointed all that way, but I'm going to try to. there's this backwards tucking of the pelvis. The better I do that with a nice exhale, the more of a stretch I'm going to get right there in the front of that thigh. And that's what we're looking for. Feel free to get your hands on the couch or the back of a chair or a broom that you have against the ground, anything to produce a little extra stability so that you can settle into this stretch for time. We're looking to either stay in the same position and use breath somewhat similarly to the breath that we've been doing on the ground to experience a decrease of intensity in this stretch within this position across time, or to open up more and more range, staying within that 6 or 7 out of 10 stretch intensity zone, but finding ourselves sinking deeper across time. Again, 1.5 to 2 minutes, 3 minutes would be fantastic per side, and we should end up with looser tissue here through the front, which we can then work with. So after we finish this 2 minutes to 3 minutes of stretching, what we're going to do is take this broom or the back of a chair. We're going to walk this foot a little bit further forward, and we're going to then try to squeeze some of this back of leg stuff. What this looks like is me beginning to pull my heel towards my butt in a way that doesn't crinkle the t-shirt in the low back. I want to stay tall and long, long, long through the spine. Big breath in, stiffen the whole body, begin to pull the heel towards the butt, and I'm going to tip on forward. I'm looking for a point where I can lift that shin off of the couch. Again, still tucking that tailbone, still looking for length in the spine, attempting to pull that heel up towards my butt. And I'm going to get a big, almost cramp feeling back here in the back of the thigh. Don't need to blast yourself at a 10 out of 10. You're welcome to open that up a little bit more if that takes you out of the super screaming intensity zone. And we want to hold that for a few seconds, rock on back into a gentle stretch. Take another breath in. We're going to go for 3 reps. Pull the heel towards the butt, rock forward. Hold for 3, rock on back. And you may not be able to see it with this pillow.